Okay, he's got them. He has got them. The Sussexes, Harry and Meghan, know that they have been rumbled. That is the only explanation behind their truly deranged statement, suggesting that Tom Bower, one of Britain's most respected authors, someone who had a long career of revealing the truth about high-profile figures from Mohammed Al-Fayed to Simon Cowell for years before he tackled Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, is somehow a conspiracy theorist for deciding to tell the truth about them. And my God, there are truth bombs in this new book, Betrayal, the follow-up to Revenge, which backs up much of what I have been reporting about not only the strains in Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's relationship, but the completely dire state of their finances and their business. And rather than just ignore Tom Bower, or actually decide to put their money where their mouth is and sue the guy, Meghan and Harry instead ran to their favorite news outlets like GB News and People magazine to release the second in a truly bonkers statement. They said Mr. Bower's commentary has long crossed the line from criticism into fixation. This is someone who has publicly stated the monarchy, in fact, depends on actually obliterating the Sussexes from our state of life, language that speaks for itself. He has made a career out of constructing ever more elaborate theories about people he does not know and has never met. Those interested in facts will look elsewhere. Those seeking deranged conspiracy and melodrama know exactly where to find him. But of course, there's nothing deranged and there's nothing conspiratorial about betrayal, power, deceit, and the fight for the future. And that's why we're going to be looking into this book in depth today with Brittany, editor of the Royal News Network. But Brittany, this statement is extraordinary. It reminds me of when Princess Diana herself tried to turn on the book by Andrew Morton, Diana, Her True Story, when in fact she had been working with him. Because there's nothing conspiratorial, there's nothing deranged about this. And Brittany, the use of that word deranged, I think shows that they're the only ones in trouble here.
Oh, definitely so, Dan. And the use of deranged is not an accident because Meghan Markle's Uber fans call anybody who is, let's say, a royalist or a William and Kate fans, sometimes they call them derangers. I'm not even quite sure how they came up with that term. And so it shows you as well as that Meghan is very tuned into her Uber fan base. She is very tuned into the Sussex squad and what they're doing to use that particular term. But the statement overall is completely over the top. It's ridiculous. It's farcical. It actually, to me, actually says that they're scared of Tom Bower. They're scared of what he's going to report because they know it's true. They know there's truth to it. If it's just deranged and crazy and fixation and whatever, then just ignore it. The truth will bear out generally. People will ignore what they seem as or deem as sort of on a crazy end of the spectrum. But that's not what Tom Bower is doing. Tom Bower is being a journalist here and reporting the facts. And the facts terrify Meghan Markle especially. She can't deal with them. She has to live in her delusional fantasy, and she hates anybody who tries to break it. And unfortunately for her, most of the media tries to break it all the time, and she just immensely struggles with that.
And someone else who hasn't threatened to sue or even issue a denial is the Queen, Camilla, who is quoted in this book as saying that Meghan Markle brainwashed Harry. That was what she told a friend. So let's start getting into the revelations from this explosive new book. And Tom Bower writes, the Cambridges believed that Meghan was not reconciled to what was deemed her destiny in London. This was after joining the royal family. She, they thought, lamented Harry's unlikely chances of one day being king, just as she regretted the possibility that she would never be the queen. With Meghan's encouragement, Harry started to move beyond the palace's control. Instead of the likes of his colourless Uncle Edward, Harry refused any longer to accept his fate as the superfluous spare. William's original fears were soon realised. Meghan had become a divisive agent. To please her, Harry was ignoring his old friends. He even changed his telephone number without telling his family. The jovial lad about town became possessed by seeking revenge. Increasingly, his character mirrored Meghan's. Emotionally, he veered towards extremes. Simple dislikes became passionate hatred. And here's the key quote, Brittany. Camilla told a friend, Meghan's brainwashed Harry. Just hit that subscribe button on YouTube. That's because over 50% of you watching this video haven't done that yet.
We've all seen it, Dan, over the years, how Harry has changed. And yes, I believe this negativity, you could say, and this vindictiveness, there was always an element that was there in Harry's personality, but Meghan just magnified that infinitely. And we've all seen the drastic change, how he's given up every single aspect of his life in order to please her. Going to California was not probably entirely Harry's idea. It was Meghan's idea. Hollywood was Meghan's idea. And Camilla is right. It's something that we've all noticed, that Harry has glommed onto Meghan's personality because despite what he thinks and despite, I'm sure, what Meghan tells him from time to time, Harry's just an incredibly weak-willed man. And he was looking for a mommy figure, and Meghan came over and was able to do that for him. And he gave up everything in order to become what she wanted. And in the process, he's lost everything, and I think has become increasingly miserable over the years. There's bright spots here and there. They do have their children, but I think Harry overall definitely misses his former life, probably has a lot of resentment, and he can't admit yet that most of that resentment should only be aimed at himself. He's the one who's made these decisions, and he's the one who has to live with the consequences.
And of course, Brittany, the whole point of this book is to fast forward to today and talk about the strains in their marriage, especially since Meghan decided to focus almost entirely on her own personal commercial ventures, only using Harry when it suited her. So back to this Tom Bower book, he writes, since then, she has separated herself from Harry, except seemingly when a joint appearance would enrich her publicity. Meghan's self-promotion as Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex has become more sophisticated. Entrenched in California, her bid for commercial success relies on her truth, which others would say bears little resemblance to objective facts. No humiliation or criticism has crippled her breathtaking ambition. At the same time, Harry's troubles have mounted, just as you pointed out, Brittany, isolated from Britain. His charitable activities have become threadbare, and his desperation noticeable to many. Permanently alienated from William and Kate. That's key, permanently. Harry was reportedly stunned by his brother's ferocious reaction to revelations about the man now known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and his relationship with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. The unpredicted and unimagined humiliation of Andrew shocked Harry. Rightly, Harry fears that the future King William could remove all the Sussex's titles and effectively banish him from Britain. Whether Meghan understands the potential consequences of any deliberate aggravation of the Prince and Princess of Wales remains to be seen. And then we get to what really led to the disaster tourism catastrophe of a year ago, Brittany. Remember when these terrible images of Harry and Meghan on a publicity stunt, literally trampling over the bodies of dead people in fire-ravaged houses when their owners couldn't even return, went all across the globe. And Tom Bower reveals that this was indeed as a direct result of the negative publicity that came from Meghan's ratings at Netflix, and the fact that Netflix had made a joke about Harry and Meghan during this opening event where they said, not since Harry and Meghan has Netflix given more money to someone without a specific plan. And Tom Bower reveals that after that gag, panic gripped the Sussexes' home. Meghan's publicists, since fired of course, suggested that the couple head down to Los Angeles to be seen comforting the victims of the widespread and devastating wildfires. A cameraman from Archwell was waiting for their arrival at a soup kitchen in Pasadena, set up to help a group of homeless people. After recording a video of her listening and hugging victims, the scene was posted that day by publicists to Meghan's 1.6 million Instagram followers.
This video is pushing a huge claim that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's marriage might not be as authentic as they present it. Yeah, you heard that right. A sham marriage. That's the headline they're running with. And it all comes from this so-called bombshell book. Now let's be clear, this isn't confirmed fact. This is one author's interpretation. But the way it's being presented, it's designed to make you believe there's something deeper going on. So the entire argument here leans heavily on the credibility of the author. He's known for writing investigative-style books, digging into powerful figures. And the video frames this like, this isn't gossip, this is research. But here's the issue, we're not seeing hard evidence. We're seeing claims, sources, and interpretation. And that's where things get tricky, because insider claims can mean a lot of things. It doesn't automatically make it fact.
Now, Brittany, we knew that was the case. We knew that this was a publicity stunt. But to get that confirmation from Bauer that it was something that the publicist had actually suggested shows just how cynical Meghan is and how prepared she is to use human tragedy to advance herself. Something I think we've seen over the past few days, Brittany, with this terribly ill-judged visit to a Californian children's hospital, which she has no connection to, which she's never raised money for.
Exactly, Dan. Meghan Markle, there is no tragedy that she is not willing to exploit for self-promotion. We have seen this endlessly. It's why people just generally don't like her. Why did she have to go personally to Uvalde, Texas, where she has no connections, to stand in front of a memorial to dead children because, quote unquote, she's a mom? It's insane. And she is 100% a disaster tourist, especially in those California wildfire situations, to go and trample all over the remains of people's lives after a fire is horrific. It was incredibly ill-judged. But it's not a surprise because Meghan Markle's publicists know Meghan. And so they suggested something they thought she might be able to help with. But it's just one of those things where Harry and Meghan, they just didn't need to be there. Just donate some money, leave it at that, because as soon as they got in front of those cameras, as soon as they purposely placed themselves in front of a live studio feed to a local station in Los Angeles, you know, it was entirely a publicity stunt. They could have done something very anonymously. No. They have to be front and center. It has to be about them. They're not part of that community. They didn't lose anything. They're in Montecito. They had no business being there. And it's just another example of how Meghan is so incredibly desperate for publicity, especially positive publicity. She'll trample over anyone to try and achieve it.
But Tom Bauer actually starts by rewinding back, Brittany, to 2022. And do you remember this appearance at the One Young World event where Meghan was totally humiliated because she just spoke about herself constantly? And there's an amazing line where Ella Robertson, who is the woman who organized this conference, watched Meghan's speech and groaned, "She's fucked it." Because, of course, nearly 50 times in just 10 minutes, she decided to say I. And then Tom Bauer goes into what's going on with Harry at this time. And it's clear that his mental health is suffering. He quotes him as saying, "I've been abandoned," days before the event. And he writes, stressed about their security, Harry had been told that the Home Office refused to provide armed protection in Manchester and London. But with Meghan's insistence that her appearance was essential to sustain her brand, he decided to, quote, risk assassination. So I think that does show you just how paranoid that this guy has become. Then we skip forward to Harry's meeting with the king. And Tom Bauer writes, 4 days earlier, a senior Buckingham Palace official was adamant that the king would not meet his son during the trip. But at the last moment, Charles agreed that after flying down from Balmoral for his weekly medical treatment, he would let Harry visit him at Clarence House. That morning, according to a visitor in Balmoral, the king looked very grey. Tom Bower then skips forward to that Humanitarian of the Year event in New York, where the marriage tensions between Harry and Meghan exploded on the red carpet. And he writes, some cracks started to appear. Together, Meghan and Harry looked tired. In New York, they seemed to be arguing after Meghan pushed Harry's hand away. There was good reason for the tension. In her latest bid to reposition herself from a fashion plate into a powerful commercial and mature influencer of consequence, Meghan had approached Harper's Bazaar, her trusted promoter, to signal the transition to her new status, or as she would call her make or break bid for commercial success during 2 lengthy interviews, her own next chapter. So, Brittany, lots of interesting revelations there. Harry's anger and the strain on the red carpet came from the fact that Meghan herself was asking for this profile piece, just as we know Meghan herself asked to be featured in the Balenciaga fashion show. Of course, both would prove to be disasters, Brittany. I mean, at Balenciaga, we had the drive through the Diana Death Tunnel, or next to the Diana Death Tunnel. And in the Harper's Bazaar interview, we had that ludicrous scene of Meghan being introduced as the Duchess of Sussex in an empty house. But it's very clear that that bid for publicity is why Harry was so angry with his wife on the red carpet and just couldn't hide it.
Yes, Dan, the strains on their relationship is just really, really hard to ignore. They want to go in very different directions, and you constantly have the strain and push and pull between them, because I do think Harry wants to do, let's say, more charitable things. He really wants this pseudo royal role back. That's why he's doing all these cosplay royal events and these sorts of things. And Meghan's more interested overall in the publicity. That's what she's after. And so when it comes to this Balenciaga show and everything, her walking down and coming in that entrance was just ridiculous. The whole Harper's Bazaar piece was ridiculous as well. And it comes from the fact that Meghan is obviously incredibly desperate. What we get from these Tom Bower pieces is that people aren't calling her. She's going around begging for things to do. Nobody's calling her. Nobody's interested. Nobody is super excited about having such a toxic personality as Meghan Markle at their event connected with their brand. And so she's constantly going around trying to find people who will help her achieve a level of publicity. And it's just not working. And I imagine that's some of the strain as well. Harry wants to go in one direction. Meghan wants to go in a different direction. Her direction's not working. His direction's not working. And they're not bringing in the millions upon millions of dollars that they were both hoping to make. And that's going to cause strain and tension. And I think just Harry probably is not really interested all that much in the influencer life. I mean, he is a little bit, but not super much. And they're just a mess. The two of them are just an absolute train wreck together. And nothing is working. That's just become incredibly clear over the years. Nothing is working. Nothing they're doing is particularly groundbreaking or innovative or actually resulting in an impact. They're just two middling celebrities with royal titles who don't really have talent between them to do it in that industry.
Totally. And of course, as a result, the stunts are getting more and more desperate. And you were equally stunned by this, Brittany. And I know you will have discussed it last week, but given I've been off, I just was really taken by your post on X. And I actually went and listened to this podcast announcement from this Australian DJ, and it was completely bizarre.
Now this is where the video turns up the drama. It claims Meghan and Harry are basically at war with the author. Like there's this behind-the-scenes battle happening, them versus anyone trying to expose them. But let's slow that down for a second. There's no confirmed war. No official statements. This is framing. It's storytelling to make it feel bigger than it actually is. Another big angle here. The idea that Meghan and Harry are carefully controlling their public image. That everything we see, interviews, appearances, even emotional moments, is part of a calculated strategy. Now look, every public figure has PR. That's not shocking. But the video pushes it further. Like everything is engineered. And that's where it shifts from observation to accusation.
So much to pick up on there. Like, okay, Meghan hasn't spoken to you herself. Trust me, that won't be nice. If you really wanted to do this for your community, surely you wouldn't be charging them $3,000 a pop. And Jackie O, who is the other co-host of this podcast, and actually the real star of this podcast, the biggest name in Australia, isn't actually part of this at all.
No, it's so bizarre, Dan. Once I listened to Gemma, I was like, what the heck? It's so weird. The whole thing is just so bizarre. Although there is an interesting connection here via the Soho House. So there's a Soho House Sydney opening in 2026. So there's a definite possibility that part of the reason for this trip is something related to the Soho House opening, not knowing that for sure. But the whole thing is just simply just absolutely weird. Like Meghan's going on and begging this person, hey, do you have something for me to do? I love your community. I can almost guarantee you Meghan does not care one lick about this woman's community at all. Why is she doing this event? Why does she care? And I saw somebody who posted on Reddit, they had signed up and gotten an email about it and said that if you get chosen to go, basically, you have like 7 days to put down, you know, almost $3,000. That's a lot of money to drop in the span of like 7 days for most people, I would imagine. And especially without Jackie O being there, I think she's dropped out of the whole podcast, the retreat, and everything. And so she was a big draw. Now she's out of this. So the whole thing is just incredibly weird. And this is also, I would argue, a rather vacuous event. This is not an event of depth. This is not an event that will, let's say, it's for like entrepreneurs or anything. Like this is just a sort of vacuous nonsense gathering of women, you could say. So there's just, just huge questions here, because if this was something related to business or something like that, maybe you could argue it would work. But this is just basically to talk about, your love life, your kids, sex life, whatever. That's what this thing is about. So
yeah, and the only people who are going to be there are journalists and very, very rich society Australians who are there to gawp, not to learn.
Yeah.
Now, Brittany,
Exactly.
we did have a lovely moment yesterday. Prince William sharing this never-before photo of himself with Princess Diana in a Mother's Day message where he wrote, remembering my mother today and every day, thinking of all those who are remembering someone they love today. Happy Mother's Day, William. That was a personal message. Very interesting, Brittany, because he doesn't usually do this. It does make me think that this is almost like a preemptive strike before Harry does the whole Netflix documentary about his mother's death. And what was very interesting about this, Brittany, is this picture has never been seen before. This is not an official royal image. We believe that this is an image from William's personal collection.
Which is so sweet of him to share. And you also got to notice there as well, given William's age, I don't know if Harry was quite in the picture there yet. So that's also another little telling thing there. And it's just such a sweet picture. It's such a sweet message. And a reminder that William thinks of his mother every day. He is so, I'm sure, missing her in many, many ways. And I think William knew Diana far better than Harry could ever hope to in many ways. He knew her positive qualities. He knew her negative qualities. William sees his mother as an actual person with flaws and absolutely with wonderful qualities. And so I think Harry, though, doesn't see that. He sees a vision of his mother that is just wildly different. He sanctifies her and these sorts of things. And I think William so values his mother, what she gave to him, but he is not going to abuse her legacy. He is not going to abuse her memory in order to promote himself. He is creating his own life. His mother, of course, is a beautiful memory that's part of it. But William is his own man, and you got to appreciate him for that.
So why is this going viral? Simple, because it challenges the entire narrative people have about Meghan and Harry. They've told their story about love, struggle, stepping away from the royal family. And now this book comes in and flips that completely. And let's be honest, the royal family drama? It's one of the biggest online debates out there. People are already divided, so something like this just pours fuel on the fire. Some people are saying, This finally exposes the truth. Others are like, this is just another attack piece targeting Meghan and Harry. And then there's a third group saying, this whole situation just shows how toxic the conversation around the royals has become. At the end of the day, this video is built on claims, not confirmed facts. It raises questions, but it doesn't prove anything. And that's the key difference people need to understand. Because when you mix speculation, strong opinions, and dramatic storytelling, it can feel like truth.